Hey, good afternoon, guys. Just tuning in here while I'm out for a bit of a hike this afternoon in not in Jamaica, not in Texas. I'm back in Canada finally. But just feeling in a very contemplative place today and just spending some time with the Lord and just allowing him to speak into some of the things that are happening because, guys, it's felt like the last, there's been a lot of like heaviness. There's been a lot of, especially for us in Canada, I think we're feeling it a little bit extra here with just some of the results of the elections and disappointment and, things not turning out the way that we would have hoped for and would have expected. And there's felt like there's been so much like pullback, and a lot of people are processing a lot of grief and just a lot of the pullback and finding themselves in the place of like, okay, God, I thought you said this, God, I thought you were pointing me in this direction. How come everything is turning around and it seems like it's going opposite? And, the Lord was just encouraging me today. And I really felt the shift yesterday. I felt such a shift in the grace as yesterday was May the 5th, 555, and there really was a shift. And I felt like the Lord was saying, a lot of you have been reeling from the pullback and the tension and that sense of like, feeling like you've been moving in the wrong direction. But I heard him say that the upswing has begun, and the upswing has begun. And it's not like, I just was thinking of, I don't know the technical terms, but there's this physics demonstration that people use. It has to do with like, when you drop something, those little silver balls, you drop it, and with the whatever the force that it's dropped, it will continue to move. It's this principle of like momentum, and what's set in motion will stay in motion. But I heard the Lord saying that the upswing is not going to be an equal opposing force. It's not going to be with the same magnitude that the pullback was, because he is adding his momentum, and there is a force, there is a tension that has been building. And I really feel this like excitement, because the upswing is actually going to take us well beyond, it's not going to be just equal and opposite to the pullback that we've been feeling, but it is going to really propel us into the next season. And so as I was feeling encouraged, even in the midst of like, this season where the feels are not feeling very good, and there's a lot of like heaviness, and some of us are navigating, situations that are just like heavy on our heart, or finding ourselves in that place of like intercession, or navigating maybe even you're navigating some betraying kind of situations that have really kind of thrown you for a loop. But I just feel like this is a day where the Lord is really wanting to release his encouragement to us. I just want to say hello to some of you guys. Hello, Charity, Nicole, Dusty, Rose, Juliet, Clara. Good to see you guys. Thanks for tuning in. April was really a pullback kind of season. It was a season of rest, recalibration, a season of resetting the rhythms of our heart as we let go of some of the things that we thought we needed to intensely go after, and just let the Lord, kind of in some cases bring us into a place of forced rest. And sometimes for some of us, it was like a place of like healing and recovery, and just setting that rhythm. And the thing is, he's really pulling us out of that place of striving. That's what the rest has been about. It's been about resetting, our rhythms, getting us out of the place of striving for accomplishment and striving to try and, take the dreams and the destiny and the things that God has given us, and to try to, with our own hands and our own strength, try and figure out how to make it happen, and so the Lord has been prying some of these things out of our hands, and, really shifting our energy with which we're able to move forward, because he's not requiring the same tenacity of fight and, holding on with that death grip in the last season where, some of us were like, I know God is speaking and I need to like push into this and not let go. And yes, that was the right posture, but really he shifted us into this place of surrender, into this place of letting go and release, and as I saw this picture, like like, you know, like a child on a swing, and you know how like, you know, when a child's father is like pushing, you know, his daughter on a swing, you grab the chains and you pull it back. And I just saw this beautiful picture of that's the pullback. Like that's the pullback. And for those of us who have been able to lean into it and rest into it and see that actually it was the Lord, it is the Lord that has been pulling us back and pulling us, that he has been holding us in this place of, it's a bit of a place of tension, it's a bit of a place of anticipation, but there's excitement as now the grace is shifting and the release, you know, the release is there, and the release is coming. It's not coming on the same day and the same moment for absolutely every single person. Some of us were already feeling the shift. We're already feeling the momentum as the release has come and we're able to move forward. I really started to feel it yesterday, as it was almost like a heavy burden and weight was lifted off, and I was able to start moving and to start stepping out, and there was an ease and a grace to do some of the things that, you know, really was taking an incredible amount of energy. And you know, and so it's like you're starting to feel like when the Lord's hand is on something and when it's not. And so there's such a needfulness for us to be in this place of sensitivity to the Spirit, so that we can move with his rhythms, and we can move with the winds of the Spirit as the winds are blowing. You know, I was like, just as I'm sitting here, the wind is blowing here in this Ontario forest, you know, and I have to strategically position myself. You know, maybe a big gust of wind will come. I have to strategically position myself so that my hair is not blowing in my eyes and in my face. I position myself in the wind, you know, and so it's like God was showing me that picture. It's like we position ourselves in the winds of his Spirit so that we're moving with him. And it's this positioning and this realignment that he's been bringing us. It's decreasing as much as there's been tension and stress and some friction as these realignments have been happening. A lot of, you know, for a lot of people, there's been some covenant breaking, covenant making. It's been a season of like, you know, having to let go of some and walk away in some cases of some, like, you know, old alliances and loyalties and covenants, and stepping into new and exciting covenants and partnerships. And for some of us, going into places and saying yes to opportunities and territories that we didn't even know were part of our assignment, but that God is really bringing this beautiful alignment. And as we shift with him, as we really catch the wind of his Spirit, you know, as we've allowed him to cause the friction, as we've leaned into what he's doing, we're going to find, you know, that as we get into that grace and into that rhythm, that the friction of the things on the outside is going to be massively decreased. Because he's bringing us into part of this alignment it's about, you know, it's about the right partnerships. It's about holiness. It's about righteousness. It's about who are the people who carry your heart with a purity and an integrity and are going to be able to move forward with you and the kingdom message and the kingdom assignment that God is giving you in a way that is going to allow you to do all the things that you're called to without compromise, in purity, in holiness, in a way that is going to have impact. You know, and because there is like the harvest is ripe, and there is this incredible level of fruitfulness that's available. And the Lord, you know, the Lord gave me a dream. It was a couple of years ago, but it's just one of those dreams that like has stuck with me for a really long time. And it was about like, you know, it was about reaping and having a level of fruitfulness that was in an area where I didn't specifically plant, you know. And so we, you know, the Bible talks about sowing and reaping. And so, you know, we need to sow and reap, and every good farmer, like, he plants a crop expecting to reap a harvest. And so we do that. But the Lord was showing me that even though you have been faithfully and diligently planting, there is this harvest that's available, and it's so much larger than what is actually the like even like if you use spiritual principles of multiplication, it's even beyond that. It's like planting what he showed me, it was like planting a tomato seed for little tomato plant. They're pretty small, you can get some fruit, but they're only good for a couple months and then they're gone. He was showing me, no, it's like you've been planting like tomato plants, but really it's what he has for you. It's like an oak tree. It's like the harvest and what he's been planting. And so there's so much that has been planted, and there's so much. And the thing is, guys, we got to go low, because humility is the way forward. And we have to take this posture of humility to be able to reap, because God resists the proud. And so what I saw, it's like, God has been testing our hearts in the small things, because he is wanting to make sure that the people who are going to harvest and experience the fruitfulness are going to be faithful, and they're going to give glory to him. They're going to give glory to God. They're not going to take the credit for themselves. Sorry, just trying to get my face out of the sun as the clouds are breaking. The clouds are breaking. It's a sign, but this, like, he wants to bring us to this place. So it's like this level of fruitfulness and impact and harvest and resource and provision that is so far beyond what you could have achieved or accomplished in your own striving. It's beyond anything that you could have done in yourself. And he is looking for those whose hearts are bowed down, those hearts who are low, those hearts who have been humble to him and can take the blessing, the abundance, the success, the provision, and not be like, oh yes, this is just proof that I'm amazing. This is proof that I am, such a successful businesswoman, or I'm a great leader, or I'm so awesome, or look at my, anything like that. He wants to put that away. But those who will come to him in a place of humility and lowness of heart, knowing, not with shame or condemnation, but knowing the mistakes that they've made, knowing the process that you've been through, knowing the weakness of your own flesh, knowing the screw ups of your own past, and realizing that even in all that, even in your mistakes and your misjudgments and immaturity, God has said, I still choose you, and I love you, and I am committed to you and covenanted to you. And that it has been about his faithfulness. It's been about his setting us up for success and bringing us to the places that he needed us to be, to carry what he needs released in the earth. And part of this, this humility test, so there's something he was showing me here, and I don't really like it, but I'll share it. I don't like it because, guys, humility tests are not fun, but he allows certain things to come in our life to test us and to see, it's not to test like, oh, are you going to fail or not? But it's actually really shows. It's more like a testing, a proving, a bringing forth of the quality of the character and what's on the inside. And, he's just shown me a picture of Judas. And how many of you, like, if you knew that you had someone in your circle, whether it's your inner circle or like Jesus had his 12 disciples, and in his 12 there was Judas, and Jesus knew that one of them was going to betray him. He even, prophesied that, but how many of us would be able to, what would you do if there was a Judas in your midst? And I don't like this, but, the Lord was saying a lot that there are many who are going to face the test of Judas. And, we can either get fully consumed with like, how dare they? I can't believe them. Like, did we hear Jesus say anything like that? Did we hear Jesus say like, doesn't he know who I am? Doesn't he appreciate me? Did Jesus like complain? Did Jesus get even? Did Jesus push Judas out in self-protection? Did Jesus take away his responsibility as the keeper of the treasury? No, Jesus didn't. And it's like, why didn't he? Because how many of us, if you were told, okay, there is a Judas in the midst, would immediately pull into self-preservation mode, protecting ourselves, defending ourselves? How dare they? I can't believe this is happening. This is so wrong. This is so unjust. Or how many people would take Jesus' posture, and what did he do? What did he do? They went to the Last Supper. He girded himself with a towel, and he washed their feet, even Judas. And he sat at the table. He even gave a place at the table for Judas. The bread was broken, the wine was poured out. He passed it around, and even Jesus said, when John says, who is the one who will betray you? He says, it is this one. And he passed him. He gave him the bread. He gave him the cup. He didn't loudly expose and, accuse and point a finger, but he knew the dynamics of what was going on. And Jesus chose to humble himself, to wash his feet, to give him a place at the table. And this is a hard thing. This is a hard thing. And the Lord was just saying to me, one of the next tests is the test of how you will treat Judas. And for many of you, you don't know who Judas is. And don't, get all into suspicion and oh no, and who's against me and all of this. But the reality is, when you are advancing the kingdom and you're moving towards, you're moving in the anointing and you're moving in power and you're doing the best that you can to draw people to Jesus and having kingdom impact, there are always going to be, on the outskirts, there's always going to be ones who want to come in. There will always be, the one who wants to get close to the power, or get close to the fame, or whatever it is. But it's like, will we have the heart of Jesus? Will we have the heart of Jesus? Or will we judge people? Will we be suspicious? Will we push people away? Or will we say, I see you? Even with our discernment, and will be willing to pull out the chair, to give a place at the table to one who you might think is unworthy. Because Jesus didn't write him off. It does say Satan entered him because Judas gave himself over, but Jesus didn't write anybody off. He didn't write anyone off. He didn't write Peter off when he denied him. He had to tell him, get behind me, Satan, but he didn't write anyone off. And this is part of it. This is, this Judas test. It's not about like, oh, can you survive? Can you whatever? But it's a test of humility, and it's a test of, do you have what it takes to be a true discipler of people? To be a true spiritual parent who is secure enough in themselves, in their Father's love and acceptance and affection for them, that you can, be so secure in who you are as a son or as a daughter that you can lean back and you can say, you know what, like, God is going to take care of me, that he is the one, that vengeance is his, that he will repay, that I don't have to take things into my hands. I don't have to let everybody know how badly I was abused or betrayed, or whatever your story is, or, whatever's happened to you. Maybe, you have someone who is, working against you to dismantle your business or steal your clients or defame your ministry? What is it? Silence is golden. The glory of God is going to be revealed in your ability to keep silent. And it's like the enemy might be screaming at you. I just had this picture. It's like, a neighbor, a disgruntled neighbor, like yelling at you over the fence. I've had a family member who had to deal with that, where they're just like, but it's like they're yelling and there's so much noise and there's so much accusation and there's slander and there's whatever is going on for you. But it's like realizing, okay, there's noise and there's all this stuff and the enemy's been loud, but realizing that when you keep silent and realize that the Lord has put a hedge of protection around you. And the way forward in this season is to make sure that the enemy has nothing in you. That he has nothing in you. Because when he has something in you, which often the easiest way for us to give the enemy access is by opening wide our mouths and just speaking out of the soul, out of our hurts, out of the flesh, out of emotions. But in the silence, and in that quiet place of reflection and turning to the Lord. And we see Jesus' example where he even himself kept silent. It's not easy. But in this place, there is this place of stillness and silence. And it's, what the Lord is doing. So I talked about the upswing because the upswing is here. The upswing has begun. And the pullback, it's like, it's like, when you're on a swing, how many of you have been on a swing as a kid and and then you have another kid like run in front of you and you just take them out, or you were the kid who didn't look both ways and you got hit by the swing. Sorry, there's a helicopter. Hopefully we'll pass quickly. I don't know how loud that is. And it's like there's this momentum that's building, and it's like you're on the swing. You're on the swing of destiny. God has determined your course. There is a force that is pushing you forward, up and into the new. And it's almost like, I saw the enemy, like the kid, like running in front of you and trying to like psych you out and like trying to throw you off. But when you keep your eyes fixed and you don't allow anything to catch you off guard or distract you to the right or the left, and you keep the full force and momentum on the trajectory that the Lord has given you. It's very much like, Nehemiah, like in those days where he went back to Jerusalem to help to rebuild the walls that were torn down. And the accuser came against him, and saying like, oh, you need to stop and you need to meet with us. You need to come down and you're inciting rebellion and all this stuff, all these false accusations. And Nehemiah just said, I cannot come down. I cannot come down. Why should I leave a good thing and come down to talk to you? And this is the sort of silence. This is the sort of silence. And it's that place of knowing that Jesus is the best attorney. The Bible talks about we have an advocate with the Father. He's up there. He's in heavenly places. He's before the throne of God. And he is our attorney. And not only we didn't even have to pay for him, he paid for himself with the price by pouring out his blood. And so we have that advocate. And so as one who has the best attorney and the judge on their side, when you have that confidence, knowing that you have the best of the best taking care of you and fighting your battles, in that you can keep silent. You don't need to step in. You don't need to try and take over, but you can keep silent, taste of the glory of God in that sweet place of silence, and move forward. And move forward. Yeah. It's time to advance. It is time to advance and to take kingdom ground, guys. These are really, really exciting times. And, you know, there's so much that has been happening. I can't believe we're in May already. The year's not quite half over, but there are some beautiful things that are going to happen between now and the end of June. God is still aligning. And so this is really a time to keep our heads down. Like, to keep our heads down, focused and fixed, knowing, you know, not comparing yourself to what your neighbor's doing or someone else is doing in ministry or this or that, not trying to copycat or whatever, but knowing what the Lord has specifically graced you to do and is calling you to do in this season. And this is the sweet spot. There is a sweet spot, you know, where he is going to give some of us strategies and things that we need to do that other people are not going to like. They might not like, or they might, you know, think that your motives are off, or that, you know, you're, you know, trying to do things for whatever agenda. But in that, keep quiet. Keep your eyes fixed on him. Keep moving forward and trust him that he is faithful and that he is going to do what he said that he's doing, and knowing that there is that harvest, that incredible harvest. And what the harvest is like, you know, there's so many people who have been planting, you know, so it's like we get to come in this time and we get to reap of some things that we have not planted. And so this is what we need to receive with humility and pass the test and be able to show, like, okay, yes, you know what, we are faithful. We are going to give you the glory, God. We're not going to take the credit, but to show, you know, the Lord that we are trustworthy, because there has been planting, there's been seed sown, you know, and things that, you know, it's like I see these batons, spiritually speaking, you know, in this relay race of life that have been dropped. And there's been these things that have, you know, been planted in the spirit where people started to step into their destiny, and maybe the enemy got them off track, or maybe, you know, some people die prematurely before they're able to fulfill, because, you know, not every death is because God has said, you know, your days are fulfilled. But I see that where there's some people who have been prematurely taken out of place, you know, but they did some good planting and they did some good kingdom work, and they plowed the ground, and what they have planted has sprouted, and it is in the earth, and it is ready to be harvested. And so this is where we get to rise up and to reap the benefit and the reward of a generation that has gone before us. And so this is where we come and we say, okay, you know what, God, this is not all me. This is not all because of, you know, our own achievement or greatness, but it is because we are in this, you know, relay race of life, that we are, you know, playing our part, that we're running our leg, and we want to do it full speed ahead and all out for Jesus, so that, not so that we can be known, not so that our name will go down in history, but so that Jesus will have his full reward. We want Jesus to have the full reward of what he has died for. Yeah. 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 A little encouragement, you know, for my Canadian brothers and sisters. Some of you guys are on here, and, you know, there's been a lot of disappointment, you know, a lot of disappointment felt politically, whether it's from our own election results or from, you know, tense relationships with our brothers and sisters south of the border. You know, it's been a season, there's been a lot of heaviness and swirl, and, you know, it's it's kind of, there's been a reinforcing of this sense of abandonment, whether it's, that our government is not caring for us, or that our, brothers and sisters on the other side of the border are more interested in themselves than helping us. I'm not saying that's how it is. I'm just saying that's how it feels, because the enemy is using these things to poke old wounds. And so there has been, so that wasn't an accusation against, but it is just, this is how it feels. And there has been a thing of abandonment that has tried to come over the Canadian people to make them feel hopeless and feel like they're all alone. But you are not alone. You are not alone. And though brother and sister forsake you, or mother and father, yet he will not. And so this is the time for us to, Canadians, not turn to our, familiar thinking that might be lined with an orphan mentality or orphan spirit, but to step out and to say, okay, who am I? I am a son. I am a daughter. I am not alone. I am not alone. And even though things politically speaking look a certain way, my salvation is not in the government, but my salvation is in Jesus, who is coming back. My salvation and authority is here in being the ecclesia, in stepping up and being Christ's representative here in earth. And so it's time for us Canadians to allow the tension and to allow the familiar things that we've been feeling of abandonment and rejection and who's taking care of us. And, because it's, all right, I'm trying not to be too political, but, in all that sense, but for us to rise up and to say, you know what, we're not gonna slip back into our orphan ways of thinking, into those familiar patterns of reacting, but we are going to lay down the victim mentality and rise up and realize that we are powerful. We are the ecclesia, and God is not looking for, the government to fix our problems, but he is looking for a powerful bride that will rise up, because Canada, you have been set apart and you've been chosen for such a time as this, and for a last day move of God. And this is your time to rise up and shine in the midst. Isaiah 60, 60, though great darkness covers the earth, rise and shine, because it's his light, it's his glory that is rising over you. So these are good days. They're good days. And whatever you focus on is going to grow. So if you focus on, things that align with a victim mentality or feelings of hopelessness, you are, that only that is going to grow. So yeah, God help us all. Yeah. Nicole, I like that. God is not surprised by anything. He wins, and he wants you to win too. And so this is where we get to rise up. All right. Hello, guys. Thanks so much for joining us. I've just been hanging out here, processing in the woods here. Only a few bugs have been irritating me. I didn't know if I was going to get rained on, but it looks like it's starting to clear. Hello, Carolyn Mulder, Diane Wallace, Nicole Carson, Nancy Precious, Clara. Hello, you're still here. Charlene Curley. Yeah, kingdom government has no borders. This is true, so there's been, I try and stay out of the news and the politics and all that stuff. But you can still feel what's happening. And, we don't want to get stuck into this us versus them. Oh, Canada versus US, or us versus any other country, because it's not that Canada is God's country or the USA is God's country. The only time there was a specific people and nation in the Bible that it was like God's people was when it was the children of Israel. But we know that was in the old covenant, and now we are in a new dispensation and we are all grafted in. So it's not about nationalism or which nation has the favor, but it is about how do we advance the kingdom of God in unity as brothers and sisters in Christ, and not get stuck politically or get wrapped up in the propaganda and the, all the things that are going on, because we don't want to get stuck into that, like fighting, this versus that, and into that real, almost like a internal, like we don't want to be at civil war within the body of Christ. We need to rightly discern, what is going on, and be equally loving, all people from all nations. And yeah, but Canada, you are special. And, there is something that God is going to do. And I actually really feel an emphasis on that, because, and it's not just that, like, oh, I'm Canadian. My mother's actually American. My dad's Canadian. And I'm Canadian. And so, yes, I love Canada, but I very much have always, like, I kind of felt like American. Like, it's only as things are shifting, I'm like, oh, there are some things about me that are, like, very Canadian and are different than the US, but I love the US. I love, I feel called to all of North America. I have several students, some even on here, who are from different states. I think I have students from 5 different states across the US. I've got, Carolyn here is in Michigan. I've got Iowa, Massachusetts, California. Actually, California, that's next month. Oregon, but, all over the place. And it's this, like, but Canada, God is showing you, Canadian church, Canadian prophets, I'll speak as a fellow prophet to the other prophets on here, that we have a unique identity that has been so hidden, like, like the coal or the diamond in the mine, like that hasn't yet been mined out. And so actually what is happening now, in the midst of the tension and the shaking, there's an invitation for us to, be unearthed and to discover what is that precious jewel in that gem of the Canadian identity, which is different than the specific, beautiful identity of the Americans. And so this is a time for us to discover who we are uniquely as God's, like, mercy nation, that has a specific call to bring peace into the earth, and to discover, like, what it looks like for us to embrace our identity and to bring peace in a uniquely Canadian way. But that is, like, not passive, but that is true, like, kingdom peacemaking, which is not to just keep our mouths quiet, but to know when to speak and to bring forth the wisdom and strategies from heaven. Hello, Silke from Germany. That's so good. I love to see guys on here. And Carl Portsmouth from the UK. Nancy, are you in the UK as well? I'm just going to throw it out there because some of you guys on here are from the UK, and I'm going to be partnering with school, what is currently the Emerging Prophets UK school. I'm actually partnering with them and going to be joining their leadership team next week and helping to be part of a larger team there and to pioneer some things with a new prophet school brand that's happening out there. And so for those of you who are in the UK or Germany, I'm also going to help with their marketing. So I'm starting now. Reach out to me. If you are in Europe, a lot of the training that I'm offering, because I do my prophetic mentorship group still on Mondays, which is awesome. And it's thriving. It's great. I think I've got 14 students right now. And we just had such a great night last night, but now, there's been people in the UK or even South Africa, like Christelle, who have been connecting with me. And because of the time difference, I haven't really been able to, connect so intently in, teaching and training you guys, because it's difficult, because, what's 7 o'clock in the evening for you is, or for me, is like midnight for you guys. Though Silke, I hope you don't mind me saying, she was one of my students, and she was from Germany, and she would wake up at 1 a.m. To join our mentorship group. And it was such a blessing, like, to have her. But this Prophets Rising School in the UK is starting in September. And so if you've been, like, tracking with me or connecting with me, it's not my school, but I'm serving with a team, and so there's going to be, it's a group effort. And with Jenny Hockley, who is running the Emerging Prophets UK school, and it's going to be really awesome. And so I would love to like have some of you guys who are over there in Europe to be able to connect there and to be able to, you know, be part of a more international prophetic community. So, and there's even like in-person meetings and things like that that happen in England. So more to come. This is just a little like, you know, a little pre-advertising, because you know what, I'm a marketer. So it's a grace that God has given me. And anyway, I have a fly that is chasing me, so I'm going to try and relocate. All right, I feel like I should prophesy over someone before I sign off, but I'm just going to move here. I don't know, hopefully this fly does not follow me. Yes, thanks for cheering me on, Diane. I'm excited about moving forward with this too. And yeah, so really awesome. I love that. Like I said, call to Canada, but just not Canada, North America, you know, now connections in Europe too. All right. Okay. Okay, Carl Portsmouth. You're highlighted to me. Yeah. Yeah, Carl. I just hear that like Lazarus come forth. It's like the 4 days he was in the tomb and then the Lord came. And I feel like, you know, you've been in such a place like that where it's been, you know, there's been so much that has felt like to be, like so many things that have felt like they were dead have felt like endings. But I just hear the Lord, like I hear that call, like Lazarus, come forth. And this is a time for you, Carl, where you are going to experience the resurrection power of Christ breaking in to your situations and your circumstances. The atmosphere around you is ripe for a miracle. And the Lord is, you know, it's kind of like, I see kind of like a Job situation, but where you're stepping into that place where it's the double recompense, where everything that was taken and stolen is multiplied back and restored. And so, Carl, I just call you forth. I just say, dry bones, hear the word of the Lord. And I speak to that where there has been anything dry, anything of decay, anything of death, anything of, I just getting the word like where there's been any kind of like usurping and usury and stealing. And I just call forth new life. I call forth new relationships. I call forth new partnerships. I call forth health and strength and release that. And I just see you stepping into a place of joy where the joy of the Lord being your salvation, there's a new revelation in that is starting to come. And it's like I see you starting to step into a place of rejoicing even before you can feel the momentum of the upswing that is coming and is going to carry you into that next level. It's like I see, it's like you can feel the like giddy with excitement as, you know, as you're, it's like you can see in the spirit, you can see what God is going to do. And it's in this place of incredible seeming impossibility where you are just in this place where the atmosphere is ripe for a miracle. Yeah, and I just see the tables are turned and the Lord has sewn up where there had been like holes in your pockets and the things that you had been putting in had been leaking out. I just see that there's a repair that has been done there, and I just see it's payback time. So bless you, Carl. Yeah, to step into it. Yeah, that depth of his glory. Yeah, that's so good. That's so good. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And Dusty Rose Bacon. Yeah. Wow, Dusty, there is, I just see the Lord pulling out a seat. He's pulling out a seat for you at his table. And it is that like, even in the presence of your enemies, he has set this table, and I see him bringing you into, it's like a place of feasting and delight and communion with him. And it's like, even though your situation yet hasn't been settled in the natural, and there's still some like swirly things and some things, there's still some like chatter and, you know, some things that you're aware of, you know, that the enemy has brought that are not like fully, completely resolved. I see you actually stepping into this place of trust, though, knowing that the resolution, that the verdict has been released and that it is going to silence. And so it's like I see, you know, this place of feasting that you're stepping into. It's like you're doing it prophetically, and you're going into a new level, into a new place, even before all the things naturally seem to be settled. And I see that it's like a powerful position. It's like you are stepping up and taking your place. And there's something of your like royal identity as a daughter where you're really stepping into it's like a settledness of knowing, okay, like I am the queen, the verdict is written and it's been released. And now, you know, I can sit and I can settle knowing that I don't have to strive. I don't have to work. I don't have to be the one who executes the plan and the verdict, but the Lord has released it, and that there are ministering spirits and there are specific people in the natural who are going to come, you know, and, you know, are going to settle some things. So I see you in this place of feasting and resting, knowing that it's finished, even though it doesn't look like it's finished. So come up to the table and, yeah, and there's just a new, like what the Lord is putting in front of you to eat in this season. It's like new meat. It's like new revelation. It's like new manna. Like he's giving you, you know, setting this table with delicacies that you haven't even tasted yet. And, you know, it's like going to so provoke your appetite for things of the kingdom that you didn't even know you had access to. And it's just that thing of like, there's no going back, Dusty. What he's doing is just so good. It's so good. So good. Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that. That's kind of making me hungry. I want to take my place at the table and sit down and do some feasting. But yeah, so good. All right, guys, I didn't catch the exact minute I started. I think I'm about an hour, so I'm probably going to sign off. But, you know, a couple things. If you've been tracking with me and you're still curious about joining the prophetic mentorship group that I'm running, I'm actually going to drop my website. It's on the Emerging Prophets Ontario website. So you can still connect there. People join the mentorship group for 6 months at a time. We're just like, man, so much fun. I have students of all different levels and experience, and just like really, really just love the community and just the encouragement and the growing and the stretching and going into like, you know, deeper levels of spiritual encounter. And then also I do prophetic consulting. And so, you know, that's another way that you can connect with me. I also have that on my website. I'm going to put it in the chat here. There's a fee for that. You're not paying for prophecy, but you're paying for my time to meet and consult. And, you know, whether it's like you just feel like you need mentorship or guidance, or just feeling stuck or need, you know, someone to process through some things with you, help you to get breakthrough, pray with you, any, you know, of those things. If you just, you know, if you're willing to invest in that, I'd love to meet with you on Zoom and chat with you for an hour. So love you guys. Gonna have a prophecy hour on Monday evening with my mentorship group. So if you can join then as well, would love to connect with you. All right, guys.